there. You know, Ray, I had a good Amish joke for you tonight. I thought you might like it.
Oh yeah, I love the Amish.
Did you hear that there's an Amish woman that's divorcing her husband? He was driving her buggy.
Oh man, that is a joke.
Bam!
Yeah, see,
Write it down, right?
That kills in Scranton.
it does. Yeah, Pennsylvania, that's a good joke. My wife's been out of town this week, and so I promised her while she was gone I was going to try to eat a little healthier. So I've been trying to cover all the food groups. Chocolate milk, powdered donuts, Chex Mix, and so I think I've covered most of them. You know how they have those questions like, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, do you hear it? You know, have you heard those kind of dumb questions before? And I was asking myself this week, if I drink out of the milk jug in the refrigerator, my wife's out of town, am I still going to get in trouble? Okay, we did the Amish one. We like to come here because we can kind of try out new material. If you laugh, we know it's okay. If not, we kind of mark it off. So, you can't hear me? Okay, is that better? Okay. I was actually going to say, you know, Sammy, you were talking about Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama, and I'm from Alabama, but I was going to say Sammy's last job back in, I think it was probably in the 70s or 80s, he was the airline mechanic for Leonard Skinner's plane.
Oh, that's old.
But I am from Alabama originally, and I really like it a lot there. I've been unemployed for 11 months now. And that's okay, you know, I'm in a good position, but I'm looking for kind of the optimal job. But I got a response today on email. I had applied for a job just 2 days ago, so today's the 25th. I applied for a job on the 23rd, and I got an email from the lady today saying, we received your application, and, you know, appreciate your interest, and we'll let you know by July 23rd if we're going to interview you. So I got that today.
All right.
I was applying for a job, and again, you know, they always say it's kiss of death to say these are true stories, but they really are. But I applied for a job, or I was going to apply for a job the other day. I went on Indeed.com, and I found this really cool job. I have a master's degree, so it said, you know, must have a master's degree. And I was like, check. And must have so many years of, you know, administrative experience, check. And must have this. And it was so great. At the very end, I never heard this before, and I wrote it down. It says, must have 10 years of frozen laminated dough processing experience. Who in the heck with a master's degree would have 10 years of frozen dough experience? I got 3 more reject emails, you know, where I didn't get the job this week.
Oh.
And last week I had interviewed for this job. So, you know, I put my suit on, I was looking really good, I went in for the interview, and I thought it went well, and I got the email yesterday that I didn't get the job. And it's getting to the point where you almost feel like it's the kickball game in elementary school, where you go in for the interview, you're going like, me, please, pick me, you know. My friend was looking to, I have a friend who...
Do that again.
What's that?
Do that again.
Me, please.
Yeah.
Like that. Me, please. I have a friend who was looking to make a little extra money, so he opened a new restaurant. Unfortunately, he did it after hours with a crowbar and a pair of block cutters, so he got arrested for that. I'm trying to think, like I said, this is all kind of new material, so I'm kind of hesitant because I don't know if it'll be funny or not.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. I was at the gym the other day, and I went into the bathroom, and they have, you know, the automatic flushing toilets, you know, so you don't have to, you used to just use your foot, but now you don't have to touch them at all. But they've got those toilet seat covers. And I don't know if have you guys ever done this? By the time you get the toilet seat cover down and get it torn open and adjusted just where you need it and turn around, it flushes and it pulls it down. You know, like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
And they've gotten so cheap. You know, toilet paper has gone from about this wide to about like this. It's more like flossing than it is wiping. I mean, it's getting really tough. Let's see. I was telling you earlier, I live in a rural neighborhood area. And there's a house right on the edge of our neighborhood that's for sale. And a Muslim group bought it. They're going to put a mosque there. Again, true story. I went to the town board meeting the other night, but they don't have the money. They're supposed to replace the roof. They've got to put in sidewalk and curb and gutters and lights and all this kind of stuff. And they wanted to waive all those issues. You know, they wanted because they don't have the money to pay for it. And I was kind of okay with some of those waivers, but then they wanted to build a concrete reinforced bunker, and a launch pad for some reason.
Big snake. Ouch. Other than that, they're real nice, though.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I was mentioning, my wife's from California, and when we were first dating, I wanted to impress her, so I told her I was from LA, and she thought I meant Los Angeles. I was actually referring to Lower Alabama. And you know, divorces are interesting because here, you know, in Las Vegas, we have these quickie divorces. You know, if you lived here 6 weeks, you can get divorced in 24 hours. But in the South, divorces are much more complicated. Like, for instance, in Mississippi, if you divorce your wife, she's still your cousin.
Oh.
Like many of you, I rely on my... Are you guys family or friends?
All the above.
Okay, but you rely on each other for love and emotional support, right? And I do the same thing. I have 6 beautiful children. So I was telling one of my older sons I was feeling a little depressed this week, and I said, you know, John, I'm just fat, lazy, and stupid. And he said, now come on, Dad, you're not lazy.
Keeper.
Do you have any kids?
Yes.
Again, I have 6.
All right.
Well, you know,
She
it's
has a grandson.
you have a grandson? I have a little granddaughter now. She's 1 year old. It's perfect. It's great. But you know, when you have, like I have 6 kids, so the first child, when your first baby's born, it's like you panic about everything. And my daughter would get a sniffle, and we like flight for life her to the emergency room to get something. And now my 6th son, he's 8 years old, he'll fall off the roof of the house. And then you get up and you say, look, there's not much blood coming out of your ears. Get up. I always made sure that my wife nursed the babies, that she breastfed, for a couple of reasons, really good reasons. One, I always thought it was very important for her to be able to bond with the baby. You know, that mother-baby bonding was very important. I always also felt like, you know, breast milk has more nutrients in it. It's better for the baby, makes them healthier, builds up their immunity system. And also, I didn't want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning for the feeding, so I always encouraged my wife to breastfeed. Okay, you know, again, from Alabama, and I was born in Alabama in 1963, so at the height of the Civil Rights Movement.
Oh, great.
And when I was in high school, most of my teachers in high school had been civil rights leaders, had gotten washed down in the gutter by the fire hoses, and so I had kind of a unique perspective, and I was also raised by parents who really went with Martin Luther King's theme of that, you know, you base people on their character, not on the color of their skin. So that's kind of how I was raised. But I was a little bit naive, like in elementary school. Because when I went to elementary school, my first little friend sitting next to me in class, his name was Forrest. Now, I didn't really know what Forrest meant being from the South until I watched Forrest Gump a few years later. And you got Nathan Bedford Forrest, who started the Ku Klux Klan, and that was what Forrest was named after. And I always thought I'd walk home from school, and you know, Forrest would go into his house, and I'd keep going to mine. But I assumed that his parents must have owned a restaurant of some sort, because there were always these white tablecloths hanging on the lines outside. And then he told me that his dad was an extreme magician. And so I went home and I told my mom, I said, hey Mom, Forrest's parents own a restaurant because they've got these white, you know, tablecloths hanging on their line. And I said, and he says his dad's an extreme magician. And my mom said, no honey, he's a grand wizard. And so, go there. I really can't win. Like I said, I got a beautiful wife. I kind of feel like I married the beautiful swan among all the ugly ducklings coming from her family, because she's really beautiful. They had a family reunion the other day, and I really can't win with my wife's family. No matter what I say, I get into trouble. I can never say the right thing. Like my wife's sister was standing there looking in front of a mirror, and she turned around and she said, you know, I'm just old and fat, and I need someone to pay me a compliment to make me feel better. So I said, you've got perfect eyesight. And you know, I just can't win. My mother-in-law is from a town called Big Ugly, West Virginia. Now, I'm not making that up. Big Ugly, West Virginia. And her family has a real proud fighting heritage. Like her great-great-grandfather fought with George Washington at Valley Forge, and her, I guess it was her great-grandfather fought with Teddy Roosevelt when he went up San Juan Hill. Her uncle fought with Patton, and I told her, I said, look, your family can't get along with anybody. And you know, I am a redneck, I suppose, but again, as I mentioned, my wife's from California, and I'll just say this in closing, that my father-in-law traded a waterbed for the catering at our wedding. Anyway, I'm Uncle Brian.
All right.